your host, Bob Geller, and I'd like to welcome back to the podcast my good friend, Stacy Ross Cohen. How are you, Stacy?
Great, Bob. How are you? Thank you. Round number two. I love it.
That's right. Me too. I very much look forward to our conversations. I always enjoy speaking with you. It's been about a year, I guess, and it's great to have you back on. And for those who didn't see the last episode or who may not know you, I'll give a quick intro and I will gush about you because you're not going to brag about yourself. Um, but Stacy is a very accomplished PR pro and entrepreneur, and her and her agency, Co-Communications, which is one of the most impressive agencies here in the New York metro area, does fantastic work. I know because they're right in the same backyard as mine. Stacy previously worked on Madison Avenue with TV networks before launching and growing the agency. And let's face it, you're an award winner, a noted speaker, and an author, correct?
Yes, yes.
All those great
Wow,
things.
that's such a great plug. Would you be my publicist?
What's publicity?
I don't know.
How
That,
does that
that's
work?
I guess that's what we'll be talking about a little bit.
But before we launch into the topic du jour, maybe you could just tell the folks here what your book, actually, there are two books now, are about.
Yeah. I'll start with the first book. The first book is called Brand Up, the ultimate playbook for college and career success in a digital world. And that's for high school students. And it really started, I had an epiphany, and a lot of people say, how did a professional marketer, PR pro write a book for teenagers when my girls were in high school, very competitive high school? I just saw what was going on. A lot of the kids had 4.2 GPAs. There were 10 valedictorians. And that's when it dawned on me, you have to start marketing yourself early. And the sooner you can start building that muscle, the better. So again, the first book was to help more or less with college admissions. And the other thing that we all know that's going on right now is that the majority of admission officers are now looking at applicants' social media as part of the
Yeah,
decision-making process.
very
So again,
true.
how do you stand out? Book number two, Brand Up 2.0, Propel Your Early Success. That is for early career professionals who they could either be soon to be graduates from college or, in the workforce for a while. And again, this is helping them with career advancement, perhaps switching roles, and again, just getting noticed. And it's really the same premise for both books. It's like we all need to, and it actually doesn't matter what age you are, you need to answer the $1 million question, why choose you, to get to the top of the decision makers list. And it doesn't matter if it's college admissions, if you're pitching a client, or if you're looking for a new job or to advance, or even for entrepreneurs that are looking for investors.
Yeah, it seems to make so much sense, and yet I don't think they teach us in school, do they? I remember,
No,
like in high school, we went to the same high school. We had a
well,
class in it.
they don't, but I feel like they're slowly catching on. And the way I came about learning about this is that I was writing for Huffington Post, and I write a lot about personal branding. And I wrote a story. I wondered, I questioned, are there any schools in the US that are teaching this? I found one school
Really?
in North Broward, Florida, a private school. Not only do they teach digital leadership, citizenship, personal branding, they make it mandatory for ninth graders. So, long story short, I had mentioned the school, and the teacher that created the curriculum and taught the class. He contacted me. We became fast friends, and he and I actually partnered with also Alan Katzman. His name is Jason Schaefer, the teacher at
Okay.
in Florida. We actually are doing online curriculum now, and again,
Wow. So this is
it's
taking off.
yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
teaching now, right? I left one thing off
Yes.
your
I'm teaching.
resume.
Yes, I'm teaching at Fordham University. I'm an adjunct marketing professor in hospitality, so I'm teaching grad students. And Fordham is my alma mater. I
Coming
have
home.
I have my MBA and my short stint in corporate when I worked at CBS. Those were the days, right? They paid 100% tuition
Uh,
plus books.
wow, that's wild. Um, yes. So your agency, tell us a little bit more about co-communication, what industries what sectors you serve, the agency.
Sure, absolutely. We are largely B2B, but we do some B2C, healthcare, real estate, education, nonprofit, hospitality. Um, I don't think I mentioned professional services, but also economic development as well. And a lot of issue related work. You know, for example, you and I have spoken about the bridge behind me.
Yes.
And we know that from growing up. It was called the
Beautiful
Tappan Zee
bridge.
Bridge. So we worked on the 18-month campaign uh, to garner support for the rebuilding of the bridge, which is now called the Mario Cuomo Bridge.
What a nice backdrop there and what great PR work. So we
Well, and
covered.
if you ever need to know anything about building bridges, just ask me.
You have to put on a hard hat.
No, not quite, not quite. Well, although I have been a lot of real estate, development sites.
Anyway, you cover a different sectors than we cover at Fusion PR. We cover the tech sector primarily, although also B2B. But I think we both noted, and we've discussed this, some of the changes in our industry. And some of them have been happening for a long time, and they're almost like a cliche already, like just how fragmented media is becoming, and it's so hard to get people's attention, and earned media is becoming more challenging. And I don't know, we talked about this, right? And I think we determined that it would be good to have a podcast about it. But again, we're coming from different areas, but still, I think we still see some of these changes, right? Both of us.
Oh, without a doubt,
Yeah,
without a doubt. And of course, you and I both know that the big chatter is about AI, and not just the PR industry, right? It's really every industry.
absolutely. And industries that affect us, even if not directly, like media and marketing and content, all those things are very much, have, an influence over our profession. And I guess vice versa. We should be able to have some influence or role there. We do directly in terms of we have clients who are in the AI field, but our agency also is, I think, trying to, in some ways, adopt the technology, kind of try to stay ahead of it before it eats our lunch, right? Our collective lunch. What are you seeing with your agency, your group of clients, the work you're doing? Is it making
Yeah,
inroads?
I'm so happy to share, and especially I want to give you that same question afterwards because
Oh,
I'm
sure.
really interested, especially because you are in tech,
Absolutely.
what you're doing. And right now, we have created a handbook for our staff on ethics in AI, and we did that right in the beginning. And again, AI is great for certain tasks,
Right.
and it's growing by the day, right? So, developing media lists, it could be testing headlines, spotting
Absolutely.
trends. Um, and it's really transforming again. So it's transforming the press release writing, the media list building, and also the sentiment analysis. But even though it's again, it is a time saver, and again, it's changing up so many workflows. I so strongly believe we cannot let AI steal our clients' brand's voice, right?
No.
So, and I know we've all heard this, but we really need to use AI not as a ghostwriter, but a co-pilot, right? It's a co-pilot.
Yes.
I like to refer
100%.
to it as that because it's not replacing PR. whatsoever. And I'm an optimist. I believe it. It's like rewriting the rules. And I feel that there are still a lot of people, and I've seen some statistics, I'm sure you have also, they're a little like still resistant about AI. But those who ignore it, they're going to be left behind. This is becoming an essential skill. And again, but going back to authenticity still matters. And it's again really need to make sure that you're not just churning out pitches and news releases and other things through PR. There's got to be that human touch.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be monitored. You can't just totally outsource your work to it, right? What are you seeing as far as like client perceptions, though? And have you seen any impact on media as far as coverage or as far as it? Have you seen it compete with our roles in any real way yet, or no?
You know, what I have seen is, and I'm sure you've seen this also. So my team uses sources like Quoted and Harrow and
Yes.
SOS, all the query sources,
Sure.
media looking for subject matter experts. And when we have team meetings, they share with me, and I've seen it myself, that they do not want AI generated pitches and they do not want AI generated news releases. And again, I don't know how much they're doing in terms of testing that, but you and I were born writers, right? I can absolutely tell when I see an AI generated pitch. So I think that the media is very sensitive to it. Again, they want those authentic stories. And I also, and my staff understands this, at the end of the day, like especially because we're trying to get our clients media coverage, we're in sales to a degree, and we have to customize every single pitch that we put out in the ether. And
100%.
I think the importance of personalization has never been more important, and understanding, like who you're pitching and what kind of stories they like. I feel that for a while we've skipped over that to a degree, but I think we have to come back to some of the basics of what makes a great story and looking at the news that we push out in terms of news value and great storytelling.
That is such great advice. I love it. And, even before AI, you got the sense that many in our field still, unfortunately, are operating on cruise control. They may not be doing that research and personalization that you and I know leads to the best results. So I guess AI has a potential to maybe get us in real trouble if we're not careful with how we use it. Then again, it could be, like you said, a great co-pilot, a great assistant. And that's how we try to look at it, in our work.
Yeah, and I would love to turn the question around and just, any, challenges or opportunities that you're seeing with your clients. And obviously because you're working in tech, your clients are probably, not probably, they are um, more tech than my clients.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm happy to answer that. First of all, I'm glad you said you put an ethical guidebook together. I do think you need guardrails and guidelines. We
Hmm.
haven't gone quite so far to put something in writing, but we do try to guide our teams. They have to be really careful how you apply this technology. First of all, looking at our clients, yes, we do have clients in the AI space, and it's just an incredible challenge these days. I mean, the space is moving so quickly. And some of the old rules don't apply. I mean, companies are pre-announcing things. There's a lot of hype and a lot of noise because so much competition in that space. That's a challenge in itself. That's more of a PR challenge. As far as using AI, I'd say everyone seems to be open to it. Nobody wants to say it's totally evil. Don't use it, Try to use it well. Don't use it in a silly way. I mean, if you send something over that was clearly cribbed from AI, it will be pretty obvious, right? That isn't good for anyone. To say nothing of the concerns of sensitive information getting into some large language model.
Exactly, exactly.
So we have to watch it carefully, I'd agree. And I guess we should probably, just sticking with the format we discussed, think of the advice we could offer. Um, I don't know. I mean, do you have any word or two? You already mentioned having guidelines and things. So,
Having guidelines, and I think particularly again, we all know that AI, it's not 100% accurate. And we know that the news, right? The news is based on facts. So we always try that when we're pitching something to include a data point in. And you want to be able to source the data, even if AI spits out, like a
yeah,
piece of data, you've got to vet it because the media, they're so stretched. And especially, what we do as PR professionals, media relationships are a pot of gold, and we don't want to erode that trust. So again, I think like we've got to make every word count, even if we use AI to send them a pitch, but also double, triple check the data for accuracy.
yeah, I'd agree 100%. I mean, like you're saying, you have to wonder at some point if it saves you that much time if you have to go through and keep it honest, so to speak. But I mean, there's no better way to stay close to the content, to the subject matter, than to do those things, to fact check. And often, like the use cases we discuss are in content generation. I found that it's extremely helpful when you get into some of those deep, kind of geeky tech areas. If it's a new space I'm not familiar with, to help me do some research, and then quickly, what would take hours and maybe even days, it serves up some information that generally is pretty useful and can guide me whether I'm preparing a proposal or a PR plan. I find it can be pretty helpful. So I guess my tips would be pretty much what you said, but also to try to stay ahead of the technology, keep an eye on it, and don't get left behind.
Yeah, and
Um,
I and just to add to that, if I had one more that I was going to add because it
sure,
popped
please.
into my mind is like you've gotta, well, both of us started in this industry pretty much the same time. And I remember, I would say, wow, when I began, like you need eyes in the front of your head and the back. And now you need like sensors every single part of your body. And you talk about this 24/7 news cycle, but at the end of the day, like we all need to be like ongoing learners. Like, and I'm not just saying, I think it's happening so quickly that I almost feel that PR professionals should get certified in, how like best
Yep.
practices for AI. And I know that there's some programs out there, but I almost think it's like right now, it might be a little of a luxury, but it really is and should become a requirement.
I agree, and I think the changes will be as significant, if not more, than the changes that the internet and social media brought us. I think it's that kind of mega trend that really is going to continue to have a profound impact. I mean, just think of how addictive it can be. I mean, we've become accustomed to throwing questions this way and tuning into our chat GPT or our chatbot. And so it takes attention and it competes. I mean, it generates content, right? So I guess the next topic we discussed was the fragmentation of media, proliferation of content, which AI can actually add to. What do we do about it? And maybe also that relates to the blending of paid and earned media, right? Because some opportunities, especially in alternative media channels, do require sponsorships. And we used to be pretty much allergic to any kind of pay for play, right?
Oh, yes. And you and I, we both know that the lines, I mean, they've been blurred, they've been blurred, but they are really blurred now. And as PR practitioners, we have to know that earned media, just having that to provide that service to our clients, that's no longer realistic. And it's not serving the client well. It's not serving the client well. But again, and this is really going to require education, right? Because we know, and I've always had that holistic, integrated mind. And I also think a part of it is that, yes, I'm a PR practitioner, but I also have an MBA in marketing, and I've gone back and forth between marketing and PR. But today's campaigns for our clients, our work, it's most effective when it's integrated, right? So owned content needs to be seeded into paid channels to amplify. And again, the new media now, it's not just that. I remember, and it wasn't that long ago, like my clients would say, like new clients would say, you're doing your job when you get us, like, a feature article in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. No, like now it's, we have to look at podcasts, paid guest spots, speaker slots. This is the new media. And again, so to a degree, we almost have to think a little bit like media buyers. And we really need to embrace like a whole media mix mindset.
No,
And
yep.
it's hard because, a lot of times like what I wouldn't be surprised, and I've heard it before. Clients can say, well, then what am I paying you for? But they have to also understand the new world of public relations, and that it's again, we need to focus on what is moving the needle. And it's not just about earned media.
100%. It's holistic. It's about not just PR marketing. It's about the behind you branding. It's about brand and it's about communications and touch points. All those things and however you accomplish it. I mean, listen, it may be different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but let's face it, everybody, people, companies need to go out there and get visibility and get their messages across and establish themselves, become part of the conversation. And the tools may vary. The media certainly varies these days. But do you think like the perception of PR has changed? Has client perceptions changed, for example? Are they still becoming great partners? Do we need a new conversation with them about how the field is changing? What do you think?
Yeah, I do feel that we need a new conversation. And look, clients come in so many shapes and sizes, and I still feel uncomfortable when because there are a lot of pay to play opportunities that I really feel will be beneficial for the client. I'm still uncomfortable about it, so I have to still adopt that mindset. I'm curious how you feel about that. I think I think it's, look, this is relatively new, and it wasn't that long ago that public relations, advertising, social media, direct mail were in silos. But
Yes.
again, they're blurred. And I don't I believe that we have to educate our clients more to have them understand the blurring. And I'd love to hear your take on it.
I agree 100%. I mean, it's not a matter of just going out there and getting that hit or working your media contacts, pushing the button, turning on PR, treating the agency like arms and legs. Not that that was ever a good idea. But now I would say, and I tell my, it's no secret. I mean, I'm not waiting for them to watch this podcast. I tell them that we need to bring to this battle for attention our best ammunition. We have to work with them. They have to work with us, hopefully, and provide that, to get the earned media. And then, like you said, the paid media, I think that should become standard fare in our program, maybe even roll it to our fees. And, the client may say, well, what do we need you for? Well, they need us to vet the opportunities to understand which ones really matter because there's still a lot of junk out there as far as pay per play. Would you agree?
100% vet the opportunities, and also um, show them that PR traditionally were not thought of as numbers people. Again, we're not invited to the table. It's more of the marketers that are, but we've got to be able to show them impact and what their return on investment can potentially be. And so again, we have to come to the table with it being more of a science and being very comfortable talking about numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that brings the conversation full circle because we can talk about PR and tell our clients how much they need PR. But at the end of the day, if you can't validate that, can't show the value that we're returning, what
Yeah.
good is it? So I agree 100%. We need to do that more. I mean, we've talked about that for years. Maybe to an extent, it's been lip service that teams pay for that, or maybe it's just when the client demands that they need numbers, they need a report. But do you think how we change has it changed how we measure outcomes and report that? Or are clients asking for something different these days? Are you saying, or
Yes, and I, it's like I think, goodbye to vanity metrics, right? Meaning like, we got you. Not that I'm saying like it's still important to show that in, in the third quarter of 2024, we got you 124 hits for, which was the equivalent of, this many impressions. And I think it's still important to get that across. But at the end of the day, we really need to work harder in aligning the strategy with measurable objectives. And I have a mantra. You want to hear it?
please?
Okay. So, because there's still nothing to me. I still get excited when we get a client like, a New York Times hit. Like,
Of
there's
course,
nothing
I love
better than
it.
that, right?
So
It's
much
like you,
fun.
you feel like opening up a bottle of champagne. I always say coverage is good, but conversion is better. So again, and the conversion goes back to the goals, the marketing goals, right? And making sure that you're making them quantifiable. When we do our monthly status reports now, we actually break them up into goals that we're working on. Again, to move the needle. Because think about it, if you can't link what you're doing to a business goal, it's not a strategy. It's just like you're checking a box.
100%. And this gets back to something you were saying earlier about taking more of a marketing holistic mindset versus just go out there and get some PR, get some coverage, but actually helping businesses move their needle on the business performance or at least meeting business objectives, not just looking at the PR goals. So I'd agree that's very important. And I guess the tools are evolving there as well, right?
Yeah, and you know what, Bob? It's also like whether you are providing pure marketing services for a product or a service, and look, every single brand has different goals, but there are things that I recognized in the early years that we could lead them to. Like, for example, I have to tell you, it's great for search engine optimization.
What's that?
I love sending out we love sending out news releases via PR Newswire if it has a high news value, because again, PR Newswire can get costly. But again, what's so great about it is you can have, you want to also make sure that the news release is interactive, it has link backs, that it is written with some of the key search words or terms. But what I also love to do is go to the client's Google Analytics and see the spike in website traffic. So again, we need to be just gauging all different touch points.
Yeah, and as our roles evolve and we work through more channels, I guess that will by design change, has changed as we discussed, but still incredibly important. Yeah, but I agree with you on the wire thing. I mean, how long have people been saying the press release is dead? Like decades, right? How long have people been saying the wire is not relevant anymore? But I think like in this world we're in now, where it's so hard to get people's attention that the more touch points you have, maybe they saw you in a Google search, maybe that was influenced by a hit on Yahoo Finance from a wire or something. Even if it's not a big article or something, it still matters. The more people's.
Right, right. And that's such a great point because I always use this statistic that in just like one internet minute, there's 5.9 Google searches, right? And so someone is going to be searching a brand or a CEO, and what do you want to show up on page one, right? Because the brand, the CEO has to be a master of first impressions. And I think, that communications, you and I both know it works best. You can't just turn on the volume and walk away. You need that constant drumbeat. So that's why I think like sending out, let's say like a quarterly news release is really great for search optimization. Now, just going back to AI because you'll find this interesting. I presented last week and it dawned on me because I started looking at some of the numbers and there's something called Domo data doesn't speak or data speaks. Some data doesn't sleep, excuse
Oh,
me.
data is okay.
Are you familiar
That
with
makes
that?
sense. Yeah.
Right. So I looked at last year. I thought last year was higher, but it's been going up, 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 and up with Google searches. Like, why did it go from 6.3 to 5.9? And the reason is because people are doing their searches through AI. So it'll be interesting if we see that 5.9 million number go down. And what are the implications for the search on AI for public relations?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's no question that it's going to influence. In fact, it probably already has influenced just AI's impact on search. Yeah, it's going to change the game as far as SEO. But I think you're doing just what you have to be doing, asking these questions, doing the research, trying to connect the dots, understand the numbers. That's really, that's one of the important ways I think to try to stay ahead of some of these changes. Um,
Oh,
anyway,
absolutely.
we've covered quite a few trends here. I don't know if we've solved the industry problems, but
No, I think that would take a couple of sessions.
you know what? We'll invite you back again. Love to have you out again. Love to continue the conversation. Anything else to add or?
You know, I would say that the best thing to do as PR practitioners is you've got to stay on top of your game more than ever. And you have to stay curious. You need to learn new tools. You've got to be outcome driven. And again, make yourself really indispensable and show how PR is moving the needle.
Those are great words to close on, very inspirational. Thank you, Stacy, so much for
Thank
coming
you,
on.
Bob. Always a
Oh,
pleasure.